Hey, sports fans, PB&Z Sports KF. Guess what? Wake up. It's Coronation Day. Who really cares what's happening over there across the pond? By the way, it's also Kentucky Derby Day and the day before the Miami Grand Prix down there in your place, Sunshine State, USA. We'll talk about that in a minute. We're also going to talk about day 2 of the City of Brotherly Love get absolutely annihilated by Boston. Last night, the Celtics won. And oh my God, the Red Sox won their 7th in a row, beating the Phillies. Both of those are in Philadelphia. I guarantee it continues today when the Red Sox beat Phillies again. And tomorrow, when the C's do once more, I believe, against the Philadelphia 76ers. We'll talk more about that. But the first thing I just want to mention, PB, we're going to talk about this at the end of the show. DYK, we're not even a quarter of this century old right now, 2023. Do you realize that all 4 major sports have had the all-time winningest team in this century? You had the 2001 Mariners set the record or tied the record for most wins. Did not win the World Series, did not even make the World Series. Then you had, oh my God, I hate to say this, the 2007 Patriots, 18-0, playing the Giants of all things in the Super Bowl, lose that game. 2016, 73 wins by the Dubs, the Warriors, and they lose to King James. LeBron beats them with the Cavaliers. That record did not produce a title. And then, oh my God, I've had a hard time thinking about this all week. The Bruins last weekend. I mean, just an epic collapse. Up 3-1 in that series, no less. They won, and after game 5, believe it, they were minus 10K in Vegas to win that series. Minus 10K. Unbelievable odds. Speaking of odds, we got the Kentucky Derby today. Breaking news, the favorite is out. Forte scratched like an hour ago. Now you get 5 scratches. Who do you like in this thing? You got some picks?
I do have a couple picks. I think that if I had to look at the favorite pool going into this thing, I do like the Tap It Thrice at 5-1, the number 5 horse right now.
Yeah,
probably my favorite. But I'm going to go with, for my pick, just because it is at the aforementioned Coronation Day, I'm gonna stick with that theme and take the 6 horse Kingsbarn as my predicted winner.
Oh, yeah. I like that. I like that. Wow. I get Angel of Empire.
He's at 12-1, so it's not like a huge long shot. But I do have a long shot though. My 50-1 pick would be the 12 horse Jace's Road is my super long shot to maybe pull this thing off or at least win, place, or show.
Okay, I get verifying as my long shot to be win, place, or show. I think they're 50-1.
Okay.
So, all right. By the way, Angel of Empire and I got Tap It Thrice being second, so I'm kind of going with the favorites, but I like verifying to come in there someplace.
All right. Last
night, we mentioned earlier, Celtics, they lost the Philly game 1 at home without Embiid, and now 2 straight games Embiid's been back. Game 2, they absolutely embarrassed them. And last night, a little close for a while, but then they pulled out and won it by, I think, 13, 14 points at the end. Is this series over, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, I know they lost 2 with Embiid, and I know the Celtics embarrassed the Sixers. They didn't embarrass Embiid necessarily. Embiid was a beast in that game. He was blocking.
He absolutely was, correct.
Right. Yep. You know, and even last night, Embiid played good. I mean, Harden is the one that cost them the game last night. I mean, let's face it. But yeah, I mean, they got their home court back. I think they own the Sixers. I wouldn't be surprised.
5-2 in the season so far, including the playoffs. The Celtics.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if they just run the table right here and go and win the series in 4. In 4-1 in 5 games. But
now, PB, I don't want you to jinx it because you said the same thing about our bees after that loss to Florida in game 2.
I know.
We're going to talk about that in a minute because I'm still not over that one. But so, all right. So you think so? I got to tell you, out in the West. Oh, by the way, before we go there, I mean, the upset of the year so far in the NBA is the fact that the Heat beat the Bucks, right?
Oh my God. That was, I mean, the 8 seed beating the 1. I mean, the Heat struggled to get in. They lost that first playing game to Atlanta. Then they had to beat Chicago to get in. And then here they are taking care of business against, I mean, granted, Giannis missed a couple games, but still they dominated that series and they look good right now, even in their series against the Knicks. So
the only concern is Jimmy Buckets, playoff Jimmy, is out again for game 3, right?
I heard he's coming back though.
Okay. Oh, all right. Good. You're down there. You got the inside scoop. All right.
Yeah, I heard something saying that he will play today. So
That's 3:30 today, right?
It's 3:30 today. Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. So flipping out in the West, a bold pick by me was Golden State and the Lakers both winning their series. We got them right now. It's 1-1 going back to LA. First of all, I want one of those two teams to come out of it. I don't think they will. I think we're all sleeping on the Nuggets. They are a juggernaut, the Nuggets. But would you like to see either the Lakers or Golden State come out of it to play the Celtics?
Well, I mean, you got two sides of this coin, right? One is the rematch of last year to see them take the Warriors down and all that. But then, we just despise the Lakers so much, and add LeBron to that equation. It's just like I would love to see the Celtics and the Lakers play in the finals. And I think the Celtics can easily beat the Lakers. I think they have a tough time with Blues.
Don't forget the history. 17-17 titles.
It would be awesome. That would be a great series. So as much as I hate LA, I'm kind of rooting for them in a way, just so that they can win and get to the finals, and hopefully the Celtics can get there as well.
If those two teams matched up in the NBA Finals, would that be the sports story of the year, given the history of those two franchises and they're tied for all-time titles?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
I think so too.
Hey, who do you think would the Celtics will have a harder time against in the conference finals, the Knicks or the Heat?
Oh, the Heat, without a doubt.
Yeah, I would say so too.
I mean, historically, it's been a tough battle. I mean, we beat the Heat last year, but that's always a tough battle. And Jimmy Buckets plays well against us. So,
yeah,
I don't want to see that happen. I hope the Knicks pull off the victory, but because I would be afraid. If it's the Knicks, though, I'm not worried. I think Celtics win in 5.
I'm right there with you. Okay.
All right, we got to talk what I've been dreading having to talk about, NHL. I mean, what happened in your mind?
They got outcoached. They really got outcoached. It was the game plan that killed them, because the skill of the hockey players didn't change, right? It was the coaching. They tried to switch up lines. They put in Swayman in that last game, just out of spite almost.
He should have played in Game 5, don't you think?
I think I agree with you. He should have played in Game 5. Or at least Game 6, right? There was a lot of like game planning type of things that broke down for the Bruins, and that's really what it came down to. And I'll give Paul Maurice all the credit in the world. The guy is an awesome coach. And
by the way, he is the losingest coach right now, still playing in the NHL. He has an under 500 record.
I was going to say by record or by number of losses. Okay,
by record.
Yeah. Okay. But I mean, give him credit though. He's a good coach. I mean,
but on the flip side of that, he's 3-0 in Game 7s.
And you know what? Florida's a feisty freaking team. Have you watched the 2 games against Toronto? In Toronto,
you know what? Literally, a couple guys in my office. I was in the office on Monday, the day after the loss, right? And they're saying, "Oh, Toronto's going to kick Florida's butt." And I'm like, I don't think so. These guys got mojo going, man. And sure enough, what they do, 2 games up in Toronto with epic crowds. I mean, outside the Toronto State Arena, there was just massive humidity, and they beat them twice easily, I thought.
Yeah, right. And Tkachuk is he's a beast. And, he's right up there as one of the top players in the NHL. That was a big deal to get him this year. They got rid of Huberdeau and brought him in. But I go back to the President's Trophy. The President's Trophy is it lulls you into a sense of false security, because we go in and year out. The Panthers were the victim of this last year. They won the President's Trophy and lost in the second round after beating the Capitals in the first round. But Bruins don't even get out of the first round. What really irks me though about that series is more the overtime games. They had 2 games in overtime at home and the last one, of course, happened with under a minute left. They couldn't defend that 6-on-5 for 2 minutes or whatever it was to just keep dumping the puck, whatever. In the regular season, you feel like every time that happens, what are the chances of them scoring an empty net goal? Like 90%, right? 90% of the time, the team just scores on the open net eventually. In this case, that didn't happen, and they lost in overtime. You figure on home ice in overtime, you got a little bit of an advantage there, and they dropped 2 in overtime and 3 in all. They went 1-3 at home.
That to me was the eye opener. Lost 3 games in Boston. It's just, their home record all year long, I don't even think they lost 4 games, right? Or maybe 5, right? And
I know.
3 in one series. to the same team. And I'm just like, I will say this, you're the hockey guy. I thought, you tell me if I'm wrong, but it just seemed like they were overly cautious of Swayman and they played too close to the net. I almost thought they were crowding the net with the way they played defense. Did you see the same way?
Yeah, and a couple of those pucks that went in were a result of that. There were screenshots, and you couldn't. It was a lot of crowding on the net, and Florida just kept putting pucks on the net, and eventually those go in.
I mean, this is the sad news we learned afterwards. He kept it to himself. Bergie played with a herniated disc when he finally came back. So, and you could tell there was times he gave the puck up when he should have kept it and controlled it a little longer and skated more with it. And I'm like, something's not right with him, and now we find out why. And I mean, we may have seen the last of him too, right?
Yeah, that concern. The other thing that does concern me about this Bruins team is the window of opportunity. And I think tonight this was the prime season to strike. And I wouldn't, if I had to pick for next year. Yeah, I might have them in the playoffs, but I'm not picking them to win the cup next year.
No, and if by the way, if Bergie retires, I'm pretty sure Kretschy's retiring. And I would not be shocked if Marchand just said, I can't do it without him, and left it and retired as well.
Right. And then you got to revamp the whole team, and you got Pasternak by himself now, and you got to figure out all your lines again and work towards that. Yeah, it's tough. And then the other big thing that comes up in the playoffs a lot is the goalie situation, right? Throughout the season, they usually play about a 60-40 ratio, right?
Yeah.
Your primary goalie plays 60% of the games, your backup plays 40% of the games. And they get into that cadence. And then for whatever reason, they do this in the NHL. They're starting not to as much, but they just ride a goalie in the playoffs. And it's like, this guy's not used to playing 7 games in 14, 13 days.
Right.
And now you're asking them to do that in the most important time. Why don't you just stick with the same cadence where you switch the goalie out, not in a game, but from game 1 to game 2?
Speaking of that, it's the only time in history where you had a goalie win 40 and the backup goalie won 20, in this case, 25 games.
Yeah.
I mean, so he's a good goaltender. Again, he was sitting on ice too long, right? You can't just leave him in there and throw him in game 7. He hadn't played, I think he hadn't played in 13 days, I think is what I heard. That's probably the longest stretch he had all season, right?
Yeah. So,
all right, I got to ask you this. So it's got me thinking, where does this rank in Boston history from all-time upsets?
It's got to be right up there to me. I mean, maybe the Patriots Super Bowl loss to the Giants.
Yeah, for me, that's number one. That's the big upset.
Because they went 16-0 in the regular season, the only team ever to do that, right? Because when Miami had their undefeated season, there wasn't 16 games.
Right.
And they went on to win the next 2, 18-0, going to that Super Bowl. And then the way they lost that Super Bowl with the helmet catch and the potential sack of Eli and everything else. So to me, that's probably number one. And then this Bruins, because they had the season that they had.
Yes, the historical background, right. Correct.
The series itself wasn't necessarily a huge upset, but the fact that when you look at the whole season,
the big picture, yeah, correct.
The big picture on this, I have to put that Bruins one number 2. The other thing that comes to mind for me is the Red Sox and a couple of upsets and blown opportunities they had with the '86 World Series against the Mets when they were up 3-2 and the ground ball
up in the 9th, and then Mookie Wilson and that ball between the legs of Buckner.
Right, Bill Buckner, yeah. And then speaking of Bucks or Buckies or Buckers or whatever.
Don't tell me. Bleeping F and DENT. Oh my God. 78 up 14 games, right? In August.
Games in August, you blow it, and then you go into a 1-game play-in.
At home too, by the way.
At home. And in I think it was the 9th inning, right? The 9th inning or extra innings, maybe even extra innings. Bucky Dent hits the home run. So who wasn't even a home run. How many home runs did he have on that season? Probably less than 10.
He hit that one earlier in the game. He hit it like in the 7th or something, like 8th, but they never come in. The other one you're thinking of is when Booney in 2003.
Oh, Aaron Boone.
In 2003, right?
2003.
But I'll talk about the other team that was not an upset, at least in our minds. But hey, how about this one? The 71 Boston Bruins were the defending champions. The big bad, that's when they were the big bad Bruins, right? They had 10 20-goal scorers some rookie goaltender comes in playing only his 5th game in the NHL, name a guy named Ken Dryden, by the way. And the Canadians upset the Bruins to win the Stanley Cup that year. I mean, that was huge, right? That was unbelievable. And I'm with you on the Bucky Dent game as well. So I also say a tie would be the second Giants Super Bowl win over the Pats. I mean, no way could I see Eli Manning win 2 over the Pats, and sure enough, right?
Yeah, and that was the Manningham catch. If that catch wasn't
another catch, right.
Yeah.
So hey, so we're talking about, but we're in all-time upset ranks. Are any of these in the all-time top 10 in your mind? Like what comes to mind in all-time sports upsets in your mind?
Yeah. So we're looking at all-time sports. I mean, staying on the ice, when you look at the 1980 Olympic United States team defeating the Russians, that's
nice.
They made a movie, right? They made a movie after it.
And your fellow city Winthrop native, right?
Yeah. Mike Erizzione was part of that team, of course. Yeah, a lot of
Boston. The goal, fee goal, right?
Yeah. The coach that you had a couple of dudes from Charlestown on that team. I mean, there was a lot of Boston people on that team. But yeah, so that's definitely there. The biggest one is boxing, right? Back in that same era when Mike Tyson was defeated by Buster Douglas, that was a huge upset
in Japan. I think it was. Yeah.
So
I got a couple in basketball. I got the '85 Villanova team being the Georgetown Hoyas, who were the defending champion with Pat Ewing, John Thompson's crew. Huge upset. I believe that was a double-digit favorite, Georgetown, that game. And then just 2 years before that, 1983, Jim Valvano, North Carolina State, on the missed shot, the bad pass. I don't know what you would call a good pass or a bad shot, whatever, right? They upset Houston, right? 5-jammer slammer. And I teased this a moment ago. 04 Red Sox, not so much it was an upset, unless you think about the moment. They're down 3-0 to the Yankees. The bottom, top of the 9th, right? Dave Roberts, 2-out seal, second base, gets knocked in by who?
Bill Miller hit the single.
The game, and we win it in extras, and then we go on and win 3 more to go to the World Series and win it. So to me, that's an epic as well, because I'm sure if they had FanDuels and DraftKings back then betting online in that 9th inning, you were putting all the money on the Yankees to win that thing.
Oh yeah. Oh my God. That goes up there as probably one of the biggest upsets in sports history. And the good thing is at least Boston was on the winning end of that one. So.
Yes. All right, nice talking about upsets. Unfortunately, we had to talk about it for a bad reason. Bees losing. I don't know. Like I'm not watching games right now. I just haven't gone over it yet, PB. It's been tough.
I'm sure it has, but down here I do. I go to 8 to 10.
You're a Panthers guy. That's your team too.
Yeah, I go to 8 to 10 games a year, and I got a liking towards them. They're my home team. They play 5 miles from my house, so I like taking in their games, and obviously you become you start to like them a little. I'm not going to root for them against the Bruins, but I'm going to root for them the rest of the way for sure.
No, you wore your Bruins shirt to Game 4, right?
Oh yeah.
In Florida.
I was surprised because normally fans don't care, but that night, man, they were riding me pretty hard. Yeah.
That's fun. That's good. All right. With that, we'll wrap it up. We're going to talk a little NFL draft and what's to come in the NFL. You got one more thing.
One more thing. Tomorrow, too, down here in these.
The Miami Grand Prix. We teased it a little bit, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we got the F1 Miami Grand Prix. Max Verstappen was the winner last year on the inaugural race. It will be an annual event now. He is a huge favorite. He's neg 225 right now. If you take Max Verstappen to win the race. After that, everyone else is like plus 700. I think Sergio's next, and then after that, it goes to.
I got Hamilton to win it.
Yeah, Hamilton's like plus 18 or 1900, and then right above him is Charles Leclerc is plus 1800. I get him as my kind of upset, even though he's like the 4th or 5th favorite. But yeah, okay, cool.
All right, man. Nice show. Talk to you next time.
All right, we got NFL draft coming out.